A sitting member of Congress makes statements that generate nationwide outrage. Within hours, calls for deportation flood social media. Then Donald Trump responds in a way that leaves even Ilhan Omar visibly shaken. Today, we're going to analyze not just the headlines, but the deeper meaning of why this clash between Omar and Trump matters for America's future. Charlie Kirk, the young activist who transformed Turning Point USA into a powerful organization, was tragically assassinated. Regardless of your political positions, most Americans understand there's a basic decency expected when someone dies, especially someone who was a husband and father. But Ilhan Omar saw things differently. Hours after Kirk's death, she reposted content comparing him to Dr. Frankenstein, suggesting that his own monster had turned against him. A sitting congresswoman, representing hundreds of thousands of Americans, chose to use a fictional story about a mad scientist to describe a real person's death. The imagery was deliberate, calculated, and deeply cruel. Omar didn't stop there. She said Kirk's legacy belonged to what she called the dustbin of history, speaking about the hate she claimed he had spread. The reaction was swift and bipartisan. Democrats quietly expressed discomfort with Omar's timing and tone. Independents questioned what had happened to basic respect for the deceased. Republicans called for everything from censure to investigation. This wasn't just another Twitter fight. Trump's response dramatically raised the stakes. Trump saw exactly what Omar had handed him, someone who positioned herself as morally superior to her political opponents, yet was showing what many saw as a shocking lack of basic human compassion. On Truth Social, Trump laid out what he saw as the fundamental contradiction in Omar's position. He pointed to her home country of Somalia, describing it as a place plagued by governmental chaos, widespread poverty, ongoing conflict, and systemic corruption. Trump questioned, how does someone from a country facing enormous challenges position herself as an authority on how America should be run? Then came the part that really got Omar's attention. Trump brought up allegations that had been circulating for years in certain circles, questions about her marriage, history, and whether she had married a family member. To help with immigration status, the significance of framing it around national identity and loyalty wasn't lost on anyone. Trump was essentially asking, if someone potentially committed fraud to become an American citizen, do they have the moral authority to lecture the rest of us about American values? This is where Omar's panic started to show. Her appearance on CNN with Caitlin Collins became a case study in how not to handle a political crisis. When Collins pressed her about sharing the video comparing Kirk to Frankenstein, Omar's response revealed someone who knew she was in trouble. She tried to deflect, claiming she didn't have to agree with every word in something she shared. What made matters worse was her insistence that she couldn't be deported because she was an American citizen. On the surface, that sounds reasonable, but the way she said it, with a nervous energy that suggested she wasn't as confident as she wanted to appear, told a different story. The dustbin of a history comment backfired spectacularly. On Omar, she was trying to position herself as being on the right side of historical progress. But the timing couldn't have been worse. Here was someone speaking when emotions were raw. When Kirk's family was planning his memorial service, when even his political opponents managed to show basic human decency. The political isolation within her own party became increasingly apparent. Democratic colleagues, who would normally rush to defend a fellow party member, were notably quiet. This kind of political abandonment is devastating for any politician, but it's particularly damaging for someone like Omar. When your own party starts treating you like a liability rather than an asset, it signals that your political capital is nearly exhausted. The battle between Omar and Trump represented a broader clash between two very different visions of what America should be. Omar has become a symbol of multicultural Progressivism, the idea that America's future lies in embracing global perspectives and fundamentally reimagining what American identity means. Trump positioned himself as the counterweight, embodying populist nationalism, the belief that American leaders should put American interests first. This symbolic battle helps explain why their clash resonated so strongly with voters, particularly those over 60 who lived through the Cold War, when questions of loyalty and patriotism weren't just political talking points, but matters of national survival. The immediate political consequences for Omar are already becoming clear. The likelihood of formal censure increased significantly after her comments about Kirk. While censure is largely symbolic, it represents a formal rebuke from her colleagues. The long-term credibility damage may be the most serious consequence of all. Once voters begin to see you as someone who lacks basic judgment or human decency, it becomes incredibly difficult to regain their trust. Trump's response was calculated, strategic, and brilliant from a political standpoint. By responding to Omar's comments the way he did, Trump reinforced his loyalty to his base, positioned himself as someone who understood the importance of honoring the deceased and supporting grieving families. When Omar finally showed fear, it wasn't just about Trump's words. It was about momentum, about the recognition that the political ground was shifting beneath her feet in ways that might be permanent. The lessons for America's future that emerged from this controversy go far beyond the specific personalities involved. This reflects deeper divides about loyalty, free speech, and representation that will continue shaping American politics for decades to come. For those of us who remember when American politics had certain boundaries, this controversy represents both a warning and an opportunity. The warning is clear. If we don't demand better from our political leaders, our political discourse will continue to deteriorate. But the opportunity is equally important. Moments like this clarify choices for voters. When politicians reveal their true character under pressure, they give us valuable information about whether they deserve our trust and our votes. This story is only just beginning, because the fundamental questions it raises about loyalty, decency, accountability, and leadership will continue shaping American politics long after this specific controversy fades from the headlines.